Hey, what's up, guys? It is MetaGamesGX here, and we are going to take a sneak preview into the next core Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set called Rage of the Abyss. Now, this set has been heavily hyped up for several different reasons. It is going to be releasing a few different game-changing, generic, powerful cards that every deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Can use to really boost their deck's strategy up by a few fold. And it also has wonderful legacy support in the forms of stuff for Goblin Bikers, Mermals, and other decks like that, like Memento. And so I wanted to go through about all the cards that I think you need to be on the radar for if you're playing branded, if you're playing really just the main meta, and what cards you should be really looking to pick up for like pre-order and all that stuff, because they're going to be expensive and you're going to want them to play Yu-Gi-Oh! At the top level. Unfortunately, this is kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh! In most card games work, where a new set comes out and you kind of need the new cards to play at the top level. So at first, we do have badass Goblin Bikers. Now, at first, you might be like, oh, it's just a Goblin card. However, it is the best Goblin card. It is a level 6 Dark. So great typing and stats automatically. And you can special summon it, or if you control no monsters, or if all monsters you control are goblins, you can normal summon without tributing. So it has to be a normal, but on normal or special, you can special summon one level 4 or lower goblin monster from your deck. And if it's sent from the graveyard, you can target one card on the field and attach it to your goblin exceeds material instead. That's really broken. It has a floating effect that even basically pops a card essentially, except it turns into an exceeds material, so that's really good. And it also just e-tallies from the deck, so it's going to blast out really any kind of like goblin support. So if you like the goblin archetype, this is definitely going to be the set for you. It will definitely take the deck to the next level, and we might actually see a few goblin tops in the future maybe. Next, we have, in terms of these very generic cards, Dominus Impulse, because Dominus Impulse is the next Ash Blossom. Yes, my branded players, there's another Ash Blossom coming to the game in the form of a trap like Infinite Impermanence, so it's even more difficult to interact with. But this one has a huge drawback where if you activate this card from your hand, you cannot activate the effects of Light, Earth, or Wind monster for the rest of this duel, so it can't be used in Light, Earth, or Wind decks. Most notably, Water and Fire can use this card, but if your opponent controls a card and you activate this card from your hand, when a card is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, negate that effect, and then if you have a trap in your graveyard, destroy that card. So this basically is a Ash Blossom. Basically, if your opponent controls a card and you can activate it from your hand, very easy condition to meet, and then when your opponent activates an effect that special summons a monster, negate it. So this will be ran in basically any deck that can run it. I think it's going to become one of the best hand traps. It's not going to become the best hand trap by any means. I don't think it's better than Ash Blossom, because you can only use it in a few decks because of the fact it's going to be attribute locking you. So I think Dominus Impulse is going to see a lot of play in some of the newer decks like Rizal that can run it, and then of course the Malice archetype, which can run Dominus Impulse because they're all darks. So I think Dominus Impulse is going to be very good in these kinds of decks. You can't run Voiceless Voice because it is light. Probably can't run Branded for that reason as well. But I still think it's going to be one of the best hand traps in the game. And if you can run it, if you can afford to run it with those kinds of restrictions, you should be running it. And it's going to hurt for players like playing Branded, because it's just another form of Ash Blossom. Next, we have Lacrima, the Scarlet Sorrow. This card is going to be the next best Fiendsmith piece. It's what everybody in the OCG is currently running as a one of. It's a level 4 Light Fiend. If it's normal or special, you can send one Fiendsmith card from your deck to the graveyard, except for Lacrima. And if this card is in your graveyard, quick effect during your opponent's turn, you can target one Fiendsmith Link monster in your graveyard, special summon this card, or shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do, special summon that monster. So it basically can refloat into a Link monster, like you can refloat into Requiem, use Requiem's effect again, which is pretty cool, I guess. And also, it's just a nice extension tool to give another body. And then also, obviously, you can just Foolish Burial a Engraver, then use Engraver effect, and then you basically just have an Engraver on field. So it's pretty good in that regard, and you're going to want it for your Fiendsmith strategies. It's probably just going to be a secret rare, but it's a one of, so it shouldn't be that expensive. Dominus Impulse will definitely be an expensive card, though. Because this card's going to be immediately used in most of the meta decks, I think, because the restrictions on typing is not very relevant for this format. So Branded's also getting some support in this set, which is really cool to see. This is not a branded card in particular, however, it basically should be. It's called Protostar Dragon of the Void. It's a level 8 a light dragon monster. It takes 1 light or dark dragon monster plus 1 dragon monster. So it's basically a super poly target as well, which is pretty cool. But it has good stats, so it's a high spirits bridge as well. And if this card is fusion summon, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of your light and dark monsters, use as fusion materials, and destroy them. So it is a very cool way to pop cards on your opponent's side of the field. It's also just another Guardian Chimera for us, and branded. I think we're actually going to definitely be running this. It's so generic. 1 light or dark dragon plus 1 dragon monster. Like, we can make that with the utmost of ease. And the stats are very good, and it just pops cards. So you can just be able to pop 2 cards when it's used, and any 2 cards. So it targets, but it's still fine. If this card is banished, you can target 1 level 4 light or dark monster you control. Its level becomes 8. So this kind of synergizes with the dark end in the light end dragons, because they can banish a card from the extra deck to summon. So Prostar can float in terms of that, but it's a very good card. So definitely going to be something to look out for. You want to get a copy of if you're playing branded or other fusion kind of things, because it's also a super poly target. Speaking of branded support, guys, we have the next we have the brand new Azamina cards, which are going to be a fusion archetype that most decks can actually run. It's a very generic archetype, and that's why I say it can be ran in branded. And right now in the OCG, you mainly see it in Fiendsmith Snake Eye, because it allows them to bridge into their engine, and you guys will see why. And you also see it in branded. So mainly you run this engine because you get Azamina Ray Silvera, which is a illusion monster that allows you to basically, it's an Omni Negate. This card says when your opponent activates a quick effect or a card or effect, quick effect, tribute this card to negate that effect. That's all you need to know, essentially. It's level 6, but how do you get it? Well, you use the Sacred Azamina, which basically says reveal 1 Azamina fusion monster in your extra deck and summon 1 Sinful Spoils card from your hand or deck to the field or the graveyard for every 4 levels. As you guys remembered, that was level 6, and it does not say up to, so that basically means you can just tribute 1 card to fulfill the level 6 requirements and then special summon it. So you can special summon out that this level 6 Omni Negate by just tributing off any Sinful Spoils card. Well, where are the good Sinful Spoils cards? Well, you have Sinful Spoils Deception, which is going to be the card you guys are going to want to go out, basically get in the set, because you can tribute 1 monster from your hand or field, add 1 Azamina card from your deck to your hand. So basically you get to add the Sacred Azamina, and then you can tribute it because it is a continuous. And how do you search Sinful Spoils Deception? Well, you just use Diabellstar, because Diabellstar can just set 1 Sinful Spoils spell or trap directly from your deck. So you can basically just go Diabellstar, search out the continuous Sinful Spoils Deception, and then you are able to basically cheat out through Sacred Azamina the Ray Silvera, or the Murricielago, which basically allows you to get another Sinful Spoils card, which is good for the other Sinful like Snake Eye, so you can keep extending and getting nice pieces. This will also be very good in White Forest as well. So if you're playing White Forest, branded, or really the Fiendsmith variants, you might want to be picking up these Azamina cards for sure, because they're looking very good. They give you a +1 because you're obviously going to be able to run one of the best cards in the game, which is Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils. It just adds any Diabellstar monster. So the engine is just looking like 3 Wanted, 3 Diabellstar, 3 of the Sacred Azamina, and then 3 of the Sinful Spoils Deception, and then 1 Sacred Azamina. Because all you need is 1. All you need to, because you search it very easily through any one of these pieces, and then at the end of your combo, you are able to get a draw off of the Wanted poster. So just an extremely broken engine that I highly recommend that you guys end up picking up. And there's other cards too. There's even White Forest cards, like the Fiend of the White Forest. However, I don't think it's very good, unfortunately. So if you want to be looking to buff up the White Forest cards, definitely go with the Azamina cards. I think if you're running, I would also test with the Azamina cards, because these cards are so generic. Like, getting a free Omni Negate is very good. That, like, Baron just got banned. There's a reason why. It's only 1900 though, so you can obviously ram over it very easily. But the fact is, it's an Omni Negate that's very free, and then you get the draw off a Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, because it's at 3, so you're going to run it as the engine. So I definitely highly recommend to check it out. Now, if we're talking about the best cards in the set, we obviously cannot forget Molcharmi Furos, which is definitely the best card in the whole set. Don't get me wrong. I think this card is going to be a secret rare For sure, unfortunately, because Molcharmi Purrely was a secret rare, and this is basically the new Max C. This card allows you to draw a card every time your opponent special summons a monster from the deck or extra deck, immediately draw one card, and you can use this in the draw phase. You can use up to 2 a turn, so you can basically draw 2 if you see 2 Molcharmi Furoses. It's a very good card, and I think every deck is going to end up being forced to run this if you're able to, and most decks should be able to. Even branded, I'm going to have to find room for it. So I think that Molcharmi Furos is going to be at the top of everybody's wish list for the set, which means that, you know, especially with the YCS Niagara happening that weekend, I'm not looking forward to the prices of Molcharmi Furos, to be honest. I think it will go down a little bit after that, but it's going to be kind of like an Ash Blossom. I heard Ash Blossoms were $80 on pre-sale, and then they just like never went down from there. So, you know, I think that could probably happen with Furos, unless Konami does the good thing and basically makes it so it is a like common or super rare, and then they end up limiting it, kind of like the Fiendsmith cards that they did last format. But I do think that Molcharmi Furos is what your guys are gonna need, even if you're playing branded or if you're playing other decks. You're gonna need this. Like, this is gonna warp the meta. I think a lot of people are gonna start running cross out Designator with Ash Blossom just to counter the Molcharmi Furos, because it is going to be our own Max C, and we don't want, you know, a lot of people are gonna end up being forced to just skip their turn because they don't want to give their opponent 6 draws or something, which guarantees them a win. However, I think that this card is definitely less broken than Max C, so at the end of the day, you know, I think a lot of people might just take the Molcharmi challenge and still just special summon a lot. But, you know, let me know down in the comments, will you guys take the Molcharmi challenge? Like, do you guys, you know, I think with decks like branded, which we play here, obviously, like, you have win con through Puppet, so you can obviously Puppet lock through like 6 draws, but like, hopefully they don't draw like the hand trap they need, you know. So yeah, guys, what did you guys think about Rage of the Abyss? There's obviously other cards too. There's even the Centurion cards, which are going to buff the strategy too, of course. And then also we do have the Mermail cards, which are going to be busted, since we do have Totally Awesome in the TCG over here. So I do think that overall that the Mermail cards are going to be very good now, because there's a lot of 1.5 card combos that just end on 3 Totally Awesome. Now, Totally Awesome isn't that big of a guy, and that obviously loses to Dark Ruler, but the deck has other abilities to like hand rip for 2, and then also other things, so and set up other interruptions. So I think that Mermail will definitely be good, and if you have a Mermail core, I would recommend trying it out and picking up the cards in the set, because I don't think they'll be high rarity, frankly. Alright guys, let me know down below what's your favorite card in Rage of the Abyss. If you guys want to see more breakdowns like this with this kind of dual perspective, this like kind of like lets me save down on the editing and like get more videos out for you guys. So yeah guys, let me know down below. Thank you channel members, of course. Leave a comment down below, leave 50 likes on this video. We'll do another follow-up. And with that being said, see you guys later. MetaGamesGX signing out.